Ladies and gentlemen, how the hell are you? Jeff Kiesel, Kiesel Guitars, here with my very special guest, Mr. Greg Howe, also known as the GOAT.
No, he's not.
That's what I think.
Tom Brady, I think.
Yeah, there you go. So how is everybody doing? Of course, we have this very special live today. Super excited about Greg being here, joining us. First time at this shop, and you hadn't been to the shop. I think the last time we hung out at the shop, I mean, of course, I've seen you since at NAMM and at shows and such, but the last time was about 2014.
Was it really? I thought it was more like 15.
It would have been before the GH24, which we launched that at NAMM January 2015. So it was sometime, I would say, probably September-ish, probably about this, almost this time of year.
Yeah.
But 2014,
wow.
And that was the old building.
It was 2 presidents ago.
That is pretty mind-blowing.
It's history. This is a historical event.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this is a great place, though. I like the new place.
Yeah, so what do you, like, biggest differences that you can think of if you remember the old shop? Can you think of any, like, big differences, or is that, like, a crazy one, or?
Boy, that's tough. I mean, it feels, there's a similar vibe to it, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can actually identify a specific thing that feels a lot different.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What about you?
I would say the biggest difference here, besides the super positive morale, you know, not being in that old building, you know, sharing it with, you know, the other half of the family,
the
you know.
Guys.
You know, watching like the grim faces sometimes.
Yeah.
Aside just from that like whole positive, upbeat thing, I would say just really a cleaner environment with the dust collector is a lot more efficient, a lot better dust collector. The paint booth is just phenomenal.
You guys gutted the whole thing, right?
Gutted it and did everything the way we wanted.
That's amazing.
So that was really cool. That was probably paint and dust collection system and lighting. Those 3 are like, you know, it's just so much easier to do a great job when you have a cleaner environment, a better spray facility, and better lighting.
Right.
So I think that's really, really key. I want to say something too for you guys that maybe don't know. This isn't a Greg Howe related thing, but something I just got to get out there. Number 1 requested thing from Kiesel over the last really 5 years has been a virtual builder. And if you have not been to the website, we do have a virtual builder. We have a brand new website and a virtual builder. Keep in mind that the virtual builder is in a what would be called a beta form, meaning we're constantly making adjustments and improvements to it because, well, it's complex what we do, and you know, the product and all the options. And so I think it's working, you know, 99% perfect.
It's crazy fun. It's addicting. So don't, you know, be careful. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we sat there on Greg's model earlier, the GH3, and we were like, you know, Greg's like, hey, I want to put a build in. I'm like, cool. Well, let's, you know, so we're like looking at possible options, and I think like 2 hours passed?
Oh, easily, because it's just like, oh my, what? I never saw it look like that before.
I know.
You know, it just keeps going.
Some mind-blowing things. See, some combos you wouldn't have thought of that really look good.
And it's really easy. So that's the thing that excites me, because I got to be real. And when I say that the old site was sometimes cumbersome, man.
Oh, it was a pile of shit, the old site. I got to be honest. It was clunky. It didn't function properly. You couldn't order a lot of the things you can actually get from us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, really like dumbed down the whole entire experience. I think the website is on par with what we're trying to provide these days. It's
great. It's really fun. You're gonna love it. Trust me on this one. If nothing else, trust me on that one thing.
That's awesome. I got one more question for Greg, and while I'm asking this question and Greg's answering, I want you guys to type in your questions, because it's your opportunity to ask Greg whatever you want. And I just think it's so cool that Greg's here. So the question I have, which I do know the answer to, but I wanted to ask again because I just thought it was cool hearing you talk about it. And for those of you guys that don't know, Greg has played for some of the biggest the biggest names in the business, one of them being Michael Jackson. And so I asked Greg, I said, what was the biggest show you ever played and how many people were there? Because I always want to know that, like, and how did you feel playing there?
It's weird. So first of all, it's probably around 70,000. And this is all thanks to Jennifer Batten. Jennifer, if you're watching, you're the one that recommended me for that spot. So I'm forever grateful. But yeah, there was a couple of shows about that size over there. And the funny thing was with that, I was so nervous when I got the gig. I was just scared just to have a rehearsal. I was nervous, just to get on that stage and see the size of the venue and how many people were going to be there. That was scary enough.
Yeah.
The show was so go, and you got to pay attention so much. I mean, man, I had a cheat sheet, right? That was like, okay, because I had all these presets on it. Was it the Digitech, one of those Digitech units back then? So I had to not only know how to play the song, I had to know verse is preset 031, pre-chorus preset 14, chorus this to that, and then second verse, step forward, spin around twice, wait for the dancers to pass. 40. There's all this stuff you got to remember. So there wasn't enough time for me to be concerned with what the crowd was doing.
Yeah.
It was actually helpful that I had so much stuff to do.
Yeah.
Because if I had looked up, I probably would have been like,
holy shit.
Yeah. I probably would have just forgotten how to do everything. So.
That's crazy. I mean, imagine that, you get this dream gig, but yet, you're not like having a couple beers and getting up there. You're like, oh God, like I got to be like on every night. And
you really do.
Obviously, he's not going to accept anything less than perfect.
And he hears it all. He hears every nuance.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. He's like, half a mile over there, like somehow in midair on some machine or something, or moonwalking somewhere, and you're playing some rhythm part, and if you're like maybe a little bit too on top of the beat or not quite in the pocket the way he wants, he'll notice it and he'll say something. And I know this because he said something to me once.
Holy shit!
I'm like, what? You were paying attention to that? Weren't you like flying at that time?
Oh, that is so crazy.
It's crazy.
That is awesome. Well, before you guys kick off your questions, I want to show off a customer build. That is an awesome story, by the way. This is for Michael, and we had a due date of 9/22. There's an Aries, beautiful California burst, red with the deep binding effect of, as I would say, a very Kiesel looking Kiesel, maple board, California burst, the binding, just love that. And then you have a antique ash, swamp ash body, the Cali on the rear, of course, 5-piece neck. Got the inline Aries headstock. Just a gorgeous guitar, nice and lightweight. You did play, because Greg's been staying with me for a couple of days, and you wanted to play guitar. So I grabbed a guitar off my wall. Of course, what do I have? I have a wall full of Aries at my house, literally. And what did you think of the Aries?
Really nice, really comfortable. I was surprised at how comfortable it was, actually. Because I was expecting that if it wasn't something that's typical that I play, I would probably struggle a little bit. No, it was really, really, really fun guitar to play.
Yeah, what did you think of the bevel contour?
Super, for me, everything's about practicality. I'm not really a super aesthetics guy, but it's really, really a nice rest for this arm. It's really about as comfortable as it gets. So I was, impressed with that part of it.
Yeah. And that was surprising to me. I didn't know what Greg would think, and I'm like, oh shit, all I have is a bunch of Aries on the wall. I'm like, well, hey, check this one out. And so, we go to bed, and then Greg calls me in the morning. He's in the other room, but he calls me and he's like, hey man, I'm going to be over there in a little bit, but what is going on with this guitar? He's like, this bevel thing was comfortable. It was just a crack.
It was, yeah.
It's like the first thing he could tell me in the morning on Monday morning. He flew in Sunday, and we were just hanging out.
Yeah.
Having some good food, some great conversations.
My God, some great times, yeah.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. All right, so now it's your turn. What the hell do you want to know?
Shoot. Greg, can I take you to Brazil? Just say yes.
Yes. Yes, you can.
We got Mr. Scott Janser's asking if someone was new to Greg's music, what's the one song or one album you'd suggest checking out first?
Wow, that's a good question. I kind of think that they'd get the best overall idea of what I try to do musically with the album Introspection. That's my guess.
Hey Greg, what's your favorite go-to pickups?
Well, these days I've been using a Duncan whole lot of humbucker in the bridge, and the
Kiesel S60As in the middle and neck, and those are singles, so it's an HSS.
And that's been my go-to for a few years now. So
Werner's asking, he said, I'm the original owner of a 2015 Carbon GH24 in California burst. Love the pickups, especially the Parallax neck pickup. I would love to retrofit an older guitar with exactly the same electronics. Is that available as a custom order?
We still make the Parallax bridge pickup, is what that was. And the neck pickup would have been an S60, which is what Greg is still playing. And so you could buy both of those pickups from us to this day and just call my guys.
Greg, as a legendary player who inspires countless guitarists, tell us who are some players that you draw inspiration from.
man, I mean the truth is, if you know who it is, if it's somebody that's ever been on the radar at all, they have influenced me. I've been influenced by literally everybody. Everybody from Van Halen to George Benson and everything in between. Tommy Emmanuel, you name it, and even a lot of newer guys coming up, younger players that I see. I absorb stuff. I see it and it makes me want to play. So I don't know that I could give you a definitive answer on that. If you can think of the name, if you think, I wonder if C. Ray Vaughan, yes. I wonder if, I mean, you name it, it's that guy.
JC is asking, kind of already answered this question. How was the experience working with an artist like Michael Jackson, and did you ever hang out with him?
It was an amazing experience. So the experience, it was probably one of the top experiences of my entire life. It was bigger than life. You know, everything was bigger than life in every way, shape, and form. To hang out with him, no, he wasn't really that guy. We would see him right before the show. So in the dressing room, right before we're about to go on, he'd come in. There'd usually be a sort of prayer meeting. I was in his way one time when he had to get a vest off of like some hanger that I was standing in front of. So he kind of walk over to me. And I remember looking and thinking, that's Michael Jackson. He's walking over towards me, isn't he? Yep, that's him. He's coming over here. Uh-oh. And then and then he says, excuse me, I gotta get that vest. I'm like, oh, my bad. So that was our big hang. That was a big hang with Michael.
And how long did you play with Michael?
It was short. It was only about 5 weeks. I was filling in for Jennifer Batten, whose mother had gotten ill, and she had to leave, and she was going to be gone for as long as it was going to be until her mom either recovered or passed away. Yeah. So her mother eventually did pass away, and that was probably about 5 weeks into it, and then she wanted to get right back onto it. So yeah. So it was short, but it was huge. It was you know, a lot compacted into that 5 weeks. It was really an extraordinary time.
When is the base builder going to be available?
That's a great question. I would say probably about 2 months, if I had to guess.
Matthew's asking, does Kiesel offer any other baritone scale guitars other than the Delos?
We do. The Aries, the Solo, the Vader, the K series, the SCB. There's actually quite a few that we offer in longer scale lengths.
Greg, how do you keep your youthful good looks?
Wow. So this is a person, I pay this person a lot of money to comment. No, thank you, first of all. I don't know. I think maybe I'm just kind of blessed. My parents, my mom always looked young, and I have luckily just not. I don't know. I mean, I don't really. I'd be lying if I said I do a lot of exercising. I do like some push-ups once in a while. Try to stay active. Drink a lot of red wine. I think I'm just kind of lucky. So I think just being blessed maybe, but thank you.
Frank is asking, was there a particular moment in Greg Howe's life when he heard a particular guitar player playing that turned him on to guitar?
Yes, that would be, well, that's actually a good question. It turned me on to guitar. Let me sort of reframe the question so I can be clear. I was into guitar even when I was very young, but more for just like playing chords. I just wanted to know how to play some chords and sing along to them. But a friend of mine, we had foster kids when I was a kid, and so I guess he would be the guy, because this foster kid taught me some stuff, and then he left for a while. You know, and then he came back to visit about a year later, and we jammed together with some, it's just folk chords, and then he bent a note at one point, and I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever heard in my life. So I was like, what was that? And then for the next 6 months I was bending notes, and then I kind of inadvertently discovered the pentatonic scale, and then got into like Jimmy Page and got into that kind of thing. But I would say that the moment, it was the guitar player Van Halen that made me think, I think I would like to do this as a career. So once I heard him, I was like, I think I'm going to do this. So that's the long answer.
Is the GH24 still available?
It is not, no.
Jin is asking, I tried the builder and noticed it doesn't allow us to upgrade top woods or use pale ebony boards. Will that ever be added?
So yeah, and what the question is when you say upgrade top woods, the person is meaning 5A or 7A, meaning you can still get a top wood like flame maple or quilted maple, which would be an upgrade over no wood, but we don't currently have the ability to get a 5A or a master grade top on the builder. I don't know if that'll come. For now you'd have to call in to the guys to get upgraded tops like that, because with a 5A or a 7A top, it makes the build non-returnable because we have limited supplies of those woods. So we're not going to build a guitar that just because you think it's cool and it's a $3,000 guitar doesn't mean someone else will and will want to buy it, if it's returned. The Pale Moon Ebony is also a tricky one because the only way to get Pale Moon Ebony on a Kiesel build is you have to be at $2,000 before you add that $300 option. So until we can really figure out a way to have this fretboard all of a sudden show up as an option once you hit $2,000, I don't know that that's going to be added either. So of course the builder is great and does a lot of really cool things, but I don't think it'll be able to do everything that a salesperson over the phone can do, of course.
Greg, can you talk about why you chose some of the options for your signature guitar?
Well, yeah, it would be a long story. It would depend on the options. Yes, there's a reason usually for everything, but I love Stratocasters. I love the way they sound. I love the sort of specific tonal qualities that you get from stuff being front loaded, wired onto a pick guard. So that was something, and that's more recent. It wasn't always that way with me, but one of the first guitars you guys sent me was that Bolt Classic. Yeah. And it made me kind of fall in love with the world of the Strat world. Yeah. Which I hadn't, I was always sort of playing shred, 24 fret, solid body, offset double cutaway, kind of Floyd Rosey shred guitars. And so this was a more traditional thing, and I just got into it. So that aspect of the design became important to me. That component was important. Really, those guitars, that most recent one is a no frills guitar. I'm not looking for I wasn't looking for anything special. So yeah, I don't know. It would depend if there was a more specific question, I could probably be more specific with my answer, but just looking for a guitar that feels good under my fingers and plays nice. and isn't too radically outside the box.
And I can elaborate a little bit too. When we've worked on stuff in the past, Greg is very thorough, and so the biggest thing for Greg is tone. Is all about the tone. And so when he's come in before and we've done a signature model, like we did the GH3, and we wanted to have them with different bridges, right? So we had the vintage, the vintage trim, and then we did the Kiesel trim. And your comment was the Kiesel trim just sounded so much better, so much more, and the sparkliness and so that was really key to Greg. And he's always been about tone. It's been the most important thing to him, which I have a lot of respect for him because of that, because there's no compromising on anything. The tone has to be there, period. That's number one. And then, we still have talked about necks and, it seems these days you're playing a 12 radius with our standard profile.
Yeah, standard 12, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is different also because 14 thin has probably been most of my career.
Yeah.
But that's now different. So things change.
Yeah.
Brian is asking, Greg, have you ever thought about playing headless guitars?
Yeah, I thought about it and then I thought, nope. It's just they're cool. Look, they're cool on other people. I don't think we just don't make a good couple.
That's rad.
Greg, live with me in Brazil. I take care of everything.
Well, let's get it going.
That's so rad.
That's fun.
Will is asking, Greg, were the connoisseur of tone recordings on your soundproof album real or just a joke?
They were a joke, but I have to say I think they were done really well. They seem pretty real to me. And look, I've met guys like this, like him, and who are more exaggerated even than the skit was. So, yeah, but they were worked out.
Just wondering both of your thoughts on semi-hollow guitars.
It's not really a place for me. I like chambered guitars, but not semi-hollows. But I'm also not in that world. Like a Frank Gambale. That's just not. It's perfect on him and sounds amazing on him, but it's just not what I'm into.
I love them. I don't sound as good. If I listen to George Benson and then I try to do that, it just doesn't sound like that. So I love them with other people. I have a couple.
I love them with other people. Yes, I like that answer.
But I'm always developing and evolving. So who knows? That might be who knows? The next couple of years, that might be my thing. I might be the semi-hollow body.
Maybe that'll be a GH4 model.
There you go.
The next Greg Howe
Anything's
signature.
Possible. Right.
Matt is asking, Greg, when you're improvising a solo, do you feel more arpeggio shapes guide you or scale cells?
Wow, good question. I really do sort of see the fretboard in terms of chord scales laid out in the form of fifth string root based arpeggios. So I see arpeggios, and then they become sort of skeleton shapes that represent tonalities that I can finagle with and form licks from. So I do see the fretboard more in terms of arpeggios these days. Yeah.
Hey Jeff, when are the in-stock guitars going to be back on the website?
We will get those back up at some point. The first order of priority is to make sure all the pricing is correct. Make sure that you guys can actually order everything correctly, because there is so much going on. And so, we can sit there and beta test, but really we're allowing you guys to be the beta testers and order the guitars at the same time. So we're still going through, some final tweaks and changes. I would say, again, we're probably, close to 99% of the way there. And as soon as everything is ironed out, then we're going to start adding the in-stocks. Keep in mind, we don't have very many. We probably have about 30. If there's a particular guitar you're interested in, or you remember one from before, you can always call in and talk to Flock. He handles our online inventory. So he could, if you said, hey, I want an Aries, but I don't want to wait, I want a 6-string Aries, you could always call him and he could say, hey, I got these 3. One thing we won't do is we will not take pictures of guitars and send them to you. And if that's a deal breaker, then just don't call in, just sit there patiently. I've instructed my staff, I don't want them taking photos and sending them, and I can't waste my photographer's time to take high-end photos and send them. So if that's not something you're willing to wait for, then I would just, or if that's a deal breaker, then I'd just sit tight and wait.
Rick is asking, are the top woods on the builder based off master grade examples?
No, they are not.
Greg, what has been the most important lesson you've learned in regards to practice?
For me personally, I find that the more fun I can make it, the better it is. So in other words, one example would be that, let's say that I wanted to get my timing better and I was working with a metronome. To me, it makes more sense to find a song, like a backing track or just a song that has a tempo like that, and practice to the song, because it's a lot more fun. It's more musical. It's a more musical experience, and it feels more like you're honoring music rather than just the exercise. So when I teach, I do the same thing. I try to arrange things for students so that they are inspired while they're practicing, and they're not just running through exercises, because that's not inspiring enough to keep me interested. So that would probably be the most important thing.
Real quick, speaking of students and lessons, how are you right now? Do you have any open spots to take any new students?
We do. I mean, so I only teach, what do I teach? I teach Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Okay.
And I'll do really only about 3 students a day. Once in a while I'll do 4. So we are kind of booked out a little bit, but there's slots, probably in a month or a couple months.
How would they find out more information or make that appointment?
All they have to do is go to the website or go to my, maybe my Facebook page, but for certainly the website. All the information is there. It's easy. You just, you can fill out a thing. It's very, very simple.
And the website, Greg Howe?
GregHowe.com.
Cool.
Trevor's asking, hey Greg, what is a must-have option on all of your guitars?
Strings. No. Let's see. What's a must-have option? That's a good question. That's a really good question. Wow. Man, that's a really good question. Must-have option. Probably a tremolo system, a whammy bar. I when I don't have them, even on acoustic guitars, you'll see me reach for it sometimes. I'm like, oh, whoops, it's not there. So
that's so rad.
Yeah.
Hey Greg, do you still do guitar clinics? By the way, hello from Eastern Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, hello from Eastern Pennsylvania, my old stomping grounds. Yeah, in fact, during this whole craziness that's been going on, I've had a lot of online seminars and clinics and things like that. So in a weird way, I've been doing probably more recently than before. But yes, still doing.
Sean Moore's asking, Greg, if you could pick anyone to do a musical collaboration with, who would it be?
I would love to work with, so many people. I'd love to work with Dave Grohl. I'd love to work with Sting. I'd love to work with Stevie Wonder. I'd love to, those would probably be the 3 big ones for me.
Dave Grohl, that's cool.
That'd be fun.
I would have never guessed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's, you could just tell he's a super musical, I love people that are just made of music,
Yeah, I've heard he's a really nice guy too.
Oh, he seems like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like you played a gig or venue that started to come apart and you had to basically grab your gear and go?
Come apart, I guess, meaning that the gig was just completely falling apart.
Or maybe, yeah.
Or the crowd just wasn't digging it. Not sure, to be honest with you. Not that I can recall offhand.
Antonio's asking, hey Greg, would you ever consider doing a tone breakdown of one of your tracks like Jumpstart?
Sure, I have no problem with that. If there was, I wouldn't have guessed there'd be a big request for that, but sure, that'd be fine. I'd love to. That was many years ago, so I'd have to go back in my mind a little bit, but I kind of remember what went on.
Hi Jeff, just making my first Aries on the builder. Are you going to be adding any other woods or many other options to the builder?
That is awesome. Yeah, there's no plans to release a brand new builder and then add a whole bunch of stuff. So we worked really hard on the builder, and I hope you guys enjoy it and hope you have fun building your very first Aries.
Nate is wondering, Greg, have you ever played with Guthrie Govan?
No, but I would love to. He's an amazing, incredibly amazing guitarist and musician. So that would be, perhaps someday, that would be awesome. That'd be loads of fun.
Have your go-to specs changed over time?
Yes, pretty dramatically. I mean, yeah, they have and they haven't, but the specs now in terms of electronics and what I want to hear have changed dramatically. So I really do like the Strat vibe a lot more. And so that tonal quality that happens with stuff being mounted to a pickguard, I don't know what that is, but it's very specific, and and at this point it's something I need to have. So if there's anything that's changed dramatically, it's probably been that.
Carlos is asking, Greg, how do you begin the composition of a new song?
Wow, great question. There's a million. There isn't a way. So I mean, it's anything from I'm goofing around and I discover a riff that sounds kind of catchy, or I have an idea in my mind that I'm going to go after, or I put a drum groove on and something starts to connect with what I'm playing, or I literally will. Occasionally, this has happened. I wish it would happen all the time, but sometimes I wake up in the morning and the whole song is there. Everything, the intro, the melody, the chord changes, the bridge, the chorus, the whole thing, I hear it, and then I have to get into my studio quick before it fades away. So there is no set way, unfortunately. I wish there was, because I would patent that thing. Trust me, I would. No, I guess was the practical answer.
Who are some of the kids who you think might be influencing you today?
I don't know. I'm not good at names, so I wish I was, because I could probably point. I don't listen. I don't get on YouTube and go, I want to see that guy. Things will come up on my timeline sometimes, and I'll be like, whoa, wow, that dude sounds amazing, or that who is that? That sounds great. But I don't take the time to go research. I just kind of get excited, and then I pick up my guitar and start playing something. But yeah, I wish I could think of some names. There are certain names that if I heard them, I would know them. But offhand, I can't think of anybody right now. I apologize.
Scott is asking, do you have a practice or travel rig?
I do, sort of. I mean, that's kind of complicated to answer, because when I tour, it depends on the type of tour that I'm doing. So if I'm going overseas, then usually I'll have my amp company provide amps for me at the venues, so I don't have to bring anything. And that will be amps and cabinets. If I'm touring the States, then it's my own tour, then obviously I can bring a lot of stuff. I can bring whatever I want, because I can put it all in the whatever we're carrying stuff in. Yeah, if I'm doing a clinic maybe somewhere, a quick in and out, then maybe I won't bring my whole pedal board. I'll just put, I have a couple of smaller ones that just have the basic necessities on them. So to answer your question, kind of, but it's not something that's very definitive.
This is a question for both of you. What's your favorite beer?
Oh man,
He's an expert. He's a connoisseur almost.
for me, I mean, it's hard, because I'd probably always go back to Tecate. it's safe. There's a lot of good beers, but Deftones have some really good beers too. The Phantom Bride is a good one. But yeah, probably Tecate. Good old Mexican cerveza.
There's a beer that's made in Pennsylvania that I used to love, and when I was in Florida recently vacationing, they sold it down there, and it's called Yingling Lager, and that's one of my favorites.
I've heard of that. I've never had it, but I've heard
Really
of it.
good.
Huh.
But I mean, I don't know if it's up to your standards because you have a high end. I mentioned let's get a Corona the other day, and he just looked at me like, "Come on, dude, you're better than that."
Yeah, I'm like,
So-
you don't want a Corona. Come on, man. Nobody drinks that.
So Modelo is a
Modelo is definitely a step
is that an
above.
upgrade?
Oh,
Okay.
for sure.
So yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big beer drinker, really. So, but if I had to,
Do you like little beers? I'm here all week. Tip the
there you
waiter.
are.
No, you like red wines, though.
I do.
So what kind of wines do you like?
Oh man, the list goes on and on and on.
What's your jam? Like if we
I don't know.
if we had it at the house, you'd be like, dude.
Let me just say this: we get red wine and we get different wine all the time
Yeah,
because I'm always experimenting.
that's cool.
So I don't really, I don't have a set one. I'm not a connoisseur. I just love red wine. So there's a difference, right?
That's right.
So, yeah.
You're a consumer.
I'm a consumer, right? Exactly.
Tyler's asking, Greg, what was the most difficult obstacle for you to overcome on guitar?
When I was very young, my mom tells me this. I don't remember this, but she tells me that I would try to make chords, and that I would and I couldn't get all the notes to sound at the same time often, and I would start crying, and I would get really upset, and it was a big hurdle of mine to overcome. So I would imagine that one. Another one would be sweet picking is something that's still, if I don't stay on it, it falls apart pretty quickly. So probably those two, making chords and sweet picking.
And we're getting that sign to spin the wheel.
Okay.
So Greg, here we go. I'm gonna
All
let
right.
you spin it.
All right,
Just
here we
give
go.
her a wheel or give her a whirl or whatever.
So what happens now? What is this?
We got to do whatever the hell it says.
Okay. I went past this thing. Tip of the week.
Tip of the week.
Okay.
So Greg, what's your tip of the week?
Wow. Wow. Whenever you get put on hold on a phone call and then they have the music playing, put it on speaker and jam along with it. It's a good way to fill up the time. That's my tip of the week.
That's actually a really good
That's a
one.
good tip.
Yeah.
I like that one. That's awesome. Well, guys, gals, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. I'm just stoked to have Greg on the episode or show today.
It was fun. It was a blast.
Yeah, it's really
Thanks for having
cool. Yeah, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
And man, if you guys have any questions, as always, call my guys and get on the Kiesel Builder and build yourself a GH3 and click that buy button. Let's do it. You'll be able to play just like Greg if you buy his guitar. That's a promise.
me. Yes.